Good afternoon, and welcome to this public hearing in Columbus City Council's Health and Human Services Committee. I am Council Member Priscilla Tyson, and I am the chair of the Health and Human Services Committee. Before getting started, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that this hearing is being recorded for rebroadcast on CTV, the Columbus Government Television Channel 3. The rebroadcast schedule is available at www.columbus.gov. The purpose of this afternoon's hearing is to share with the public information about the programs and services provided by the city-funded social service agencies. As we anticipate another cycle of social service grant funding later this year, a process that you will hear about momentarily, I've asked organizations to focus on success stories that have resulted from their programs. Additionally, presenters have been asked to identify gaps in services that we can address through social service programs. We enjoy a high quality of life in Columbus that is marked with innovation and collaboration. However, even the greatest cities have challenges, and we need to make sure that our residents have the resources and services that they need to better their lives. In Columbus, we have been positioned to address many of the needs of our residents because we have strong infrastructure of governmental, nonprofit, and private sector resources and organizations that are dedicated to offering services that are vital to our community. This afternoon, we will hear from the city-funded social service agencies who are doing important work in our community to help people who are in need. Over the next 2 days, nearly all the recipients of city contracts for social services will testify at this public hearing. Approximately half of the organizations will be testifying today, and the remaining organizations will testify at a hearing scheduled for tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. After our residents have testified, we will entertain testimony from members of the public who have submitted speaker slips for this hearing. I would just tell you that this is, in terms of hearings at City Council, for me personally, these 2 days are the days that I truly enjoy because I get to hear all the great work that each of you are doing in our community. And I just really appreciate all the leaders of the organizations because certainly nonprofit organizations play, again, a tremendous role in our community. And you are making sure that every resident has the opportunity to be successful. And so I really, before we even start, just want to say thank you for your leadership and the work that you're doing in our community. And we will entertain again speaker slips after this, after everyone's presented, if there are any. And I would now like to turn the hearing over to Hannah Jones from the Development Department to provide a brief overview of the social services funding. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Tyson. In February of this year, City Council approved the 2018 budget for the City of Columbus. This budget included the overall human services budget, which is approximately $5 million. $2,627,000 of those funds come from our general fund, and $2,373,000 comes from the emergency human services funds. We utilize these funds to support our social service agencies and the services that they provide to our Columbus residents. Of the $5 million, $4.1 million is allocated to 31 organizations that are represented over these 2 days that were originally awarded grants through our competitive process in 2014. These organizations administer 38 programs that address the needs of Columbus residents in 3 priority areas. The first is safety net, so emergency basic needs and resources. The second is economic success, really focusing on employment and self-sufficiency for our residents. And the third is social success, looking at safe and healthy individuals, relationships, and neighborhoods. The original intent of the competitive process was to have a new cycle every 3 years. However, in 2018, a 1-year extension was provided for the current grantees while the administration determined a strategy and process for a new round of funding. As a first step in the process, we are currently convening an intra-departmental working group which will evaluate the funding and grant support that is given by each department in the city. It will help us identify where resources can be aligned and streamlined, and also discuss where the gaps are for the populations that we as the city serve. This work will serve as a baseline for a broader conversation with the human services community, to identify where and how to target our resources in 2019 and beyond. And these hearings really serve as kind of a kickoff of that conversation and opportunity to engage with them. This collective dialogue will then inform us on the areas of focus for the next competitive round. It is our goal to have the priorities solidified and a process identified for the next round by early May of 2018, with an anticipated application process that would begin in July of 2018, with selection to match up with the budget process in November of 2018. As we begin a discussion regarding a new round of funding, it is important to reflect on what we have accomplished with the previous one. This support over 4 years has served families, immigrants and refugees, justice-involved men and women, veterans, and the LGBT communities, just to name a few. We have addressed issues around food insecurity, provided child care and education supports, addressed addiction, as well as mental and physical health needs, and unemployment and underemployment issues. We've seen millions of pounds of produce that have been distributed to families throughout our city. Over 13,000 households have received food assistance. 200 neighborhood-based projects have been funded that help build community pride and engagement in all of our neighborhoods. And thousands of residents were able to receive free, high-quality tax assistance services that then enabled them to receive millions in tax refunds and support their households. Through this process, we have learned that nonprofits thrive with accountability and technical assistance, that we must be intentional and work to create a sustained and collective effort that's focused on communication and collaboration amongst all the partners. We have also been able to emphasize the importance of thinking big, starting small, and then scaling up. We appreciate the continued support of you, your staff, as well as your colleagues, and look forward to hearing from each organization as they share their respective accomplishments. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And before we begin the presentations, I just want to make sure that everyone knows you have about 5 minutes to make your presentations. And I am assuming, because I've asked you not today to have to necessarily share your goals. I have all your goals in front of me. I've talked to Ms. Jones, and she has assured me, and the person that's sitting next to her is Mr. Stans, that all the goals that you were asked to reach, that you have reached those goals. So I'm making that assumption. I also know, I have the sheets in front of me, that some of you, just based upon the start date of your contract, if I'm sure, because some of you have already met and exceeded the goals, others may be having to still achieve those goals based upon when the contracts were completed. So I'm making the assumption based upon this informed information from these two individuals that everyone's on target. So you don't have to come up again. This hearing is not to just hear you tell me what, this is my goal, this is my number, but this hearing is really to talk to me about the gaps, the challenges, against, as so we are informed in this process moving forward for funding. Okay? All right, well then, let's see. So again, thank you, Mr. Stans, for being here, and we are going to start with the presentation. So I think the first presenter, you can probably see the schedule, but the first presenter is going to be Ms. Daphne Hightower, representing the Columbus Urban League. I think she has 2 programs, and then Homeport, ECDI, Gladden Community Center, Huckleberry House. So that's the schedule, and then you'll see your names. There should be it's on the screen. All right, Ms. Hightower, good afternoon. Oh, hi, Brother O, how are you? Good.
Good afternoon. You know what, while I always want to first say thank you, Chair Tyson, Councilmember Tyson, for allowing us to come and really talk about our programs. Most of us are so passionate, 5 minutes just really isn't enough time for us to highlight all of the work. Look at everybody agrees with me, that we need more than 5 minutes, but this is a wonderful
you have
opportunity.
10 minutes, because you have 2 programs.
I get 10, anyway, let me first say thank you on behalf of the people that we serve and our board of directors and my team for allowing us to come and talk about how impactful our programs are and to give us the opportunity to continue the programming that we've been doing for 100 years at the Columbus Urban League. Let me say that we have not wavered as it relates to our steadfast commitment to create hope and opportunity for the nearly 7,000 African American and urban people that we have the privilege of serving every year. Our agency proudly offers an authentic, integrated system of services that work to strengthen families, to overcome barriers and achieve economic mobility, foster entrepreneurship, construct on-ramps to wealth creation through smart financial practices, and teach children critical academic skills that they need to succeed in life. So we're able to do that with 21 different programs that we offer at the Columbus Urban League. And you mentioned today that, you wanted to hear about our success stories. And so let me say first that our two programs that are funded, that you fund, they fit under the economic success and social success categories that you have outlined or that Hannah outlined. And one of our great success stories is Mr. Olithawa. And he is going to talk through today our Choose to Change program, as well as our Father to Father program. He is the Assistant Director for the African American Male Initiative. Many of you probably know him now based upon his work on the Mayor's Safety Advisory Committee. And for some reason, some people in the community thought that he was undeserving to represent us, which is, I'm still perplexed and baffled by that. But I thought it was it was really appropriate to bring Mr. Waugh, our co-director, here so he can talk a little bit about those programs and to answer any questions you may have. So with that, Mr. Waugh.
Thank you. And to add to that, absolutely, he is deserving to be on that committee. We certainly need diverse voices on that committee. And I know, I call him Brother O, I certainly have known him for a long time. We attend the same church, and First Church of God, and just appreciate your work. And absolutely, if we are going to make change in our community, all voices have to be heard. And your voice is definitely necessary and needed to be on that committee. And so with that, that's not your 2 minutes I may have taken or what, but go ahead, Brother O, and share some of the challenges, successes that you've seen in the community.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson, and I want to say thank you to my president and CEO, Daphne Hightower. She's an Olympian, and so working for her is like trying out for the Olympics. So, but I'm grateful for it because it calls us to that higher plane, calls us to dig down deep. So what I'd like to talk about, if I may, is our Choose to Change program, which you fund, and our Father to Father programs. Over the last 10 years, you've funded the Father to Father program, which is under the African American Male Initiative, to the tune of about $115,000, which over 10 years comes to a little over $1 million, or approaching that number. But the Father to Father program has paid more than $4.3 million into child support. So these are men that have come through our programs and have contributed to that tune, $4.3 million. And so right alongside of that is our challenge. So one coordinator doing the work of 10 men, we see about approximately 100 men, give or take, every year in the Father to Father program, and that's done by essentially one coordinator. We also brought in our Father to Father 2.0 program, which is not funded, but it just gives you an idea of how expansive the work is. But the challenge there is for one man to serve the need. There is a tremendous need. We could do 200 or 300 and then contribute 9, 12, 16 million into child support were we funded in a way that would allow us to do that work. Choose to Change, on the other hand, is our work that we do both in the prison, but specifically at the Urban League through a 10-week program of cognitive behavioral modification where men come in and we engage with them around all the barriers that can be found in trying to transition from being a reentry citizen to a restored citizen, which I like to In fact, I like to call myself a resurrected citizen, but that's for another time. The challenge around Choose to Change is consistent with that of father to father. We have 2 coordinators, and the need is great. We see somewhere around 4,000 men come back to Franklin County every year. And so the 100 that we serve in that program is only a fraction of the men that we would love to serve. So again, the ability to expand the services that we provide through the support of the city, which is one of our major funders, would be greatly appreciated. Father to Father, in addition, will see its 1,000th man graduate in this cohort. And so, in fact, tonight at Tridestone Community Church, we will be hosting our graduation, and our 1,000th man will graduate from Father to Father. I've had men, I had a giant man in my office not long ago, long dreads, probably 6'3", 6'4", 300 pounds, crying, describing to me when his 4-year-old daughter calls him and asks him when he's coming home. So this work is not just work that we do for money. It is near and dear to our heart. All of us in our office share the commitment to the work and the experiences that these men share with us when they come in for assistance.
Thank you for coming down, and especially the work focused on our African American males. It's important work. And again, I have heard your challenge that that one coordinator is focusing on 100 men, and certainly the number of men that are in our community that could need your services, you could meet more and help them. Not only child support is one aspect of it, which is great to make sure that's happening. People should be caring for their children, but the other aspects are, enhancing that individual's overall quality of life through your programming, which is also very important, and making sure people are getting employed, just moving men forward. And then the other is certainly, as you're saying, when 4,000 individuals come back into our community, then with 2 coordinators, the number of people you could serve again in that regard. And so I think as everyone's going to share their successes and challenges, that we are taking note of those things. And I certainly will be, as we hear some of the issues the challenges that we have in the community, I think that just sets the tone for what really is required to be able to move our community forward. I think in the last funding cycle, there were about, $13 million worth of requests, and I think people were all doing great work, but there were only $5 million to be able to give out. And so I just have my thoughts about what do we need to do as a community to be able to ensure that we're funding human services appropriately. And I've had these conversations with Michael Corey. I've had them with other people, that what really are the real number, what's the real number that we need to be able to meet the needs of our community. So that's what's important to me about hearing these. So thank you for coming down and sharing. I know right now your program this year is receiving, both of these programs, about $195,000. And I appreciate that you're being funded this 4th year, and I'm sure you'll be looking forward to, as everyone here, to the new process. But again, I think we all have to be mindful of what is the real number. I think there's other organizations in our community that focus on what the real number happens to be around other big initiatives in our community, and that the human service organizations have to be thinking in that same way, and be able to express what would that look like. What does it look like? What is the true number? What would it cost to be able to expand each of your programs if you're coming up and talking about challenges that need to be faced? Because I don't think we got to have a real number.
I agree.
And I've said that to Michael. I see it for other major other big initiatives here, and I don't think we've put our arm around what that looks like. So, Ms. Hightower.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Tyson. I will agree with you 100%. How do we get that? How do we get to that number? And so I would like to say count us in, because we would definitely like to help facilitate whatever that looks like in order to get to that number, because you're absolutely right. And I'd also like to see, you know, based upon these hearings, and I know that the private sector is listening to what we're doing here as well, how can we develop those partnerships so that it's not just public dollars that are, you know, basically underwriting the cost for this, but because of what you're talking about, economic mobility, you're talking about housing, you're talking about transportation, all of these different factors are important when you're bringing restored citizens back home and trying to get them back into society. And so that's everyone's responsibility, and to be able to advocate for that. So how can the private sector also look at funding and helping us with funding and partnering with you? So again, count us in. If there's any way we can go with you or, look at funding sources, we'd love that opportunity to do that.
Thank you. I just believe that we absolutely have to engage some people to really, and I've said this to Michael, excited about the work that he's doing, that we have to have a real number. We're talking right now about economic impact, and economic impact is great because it's basically who's currently working within the social service, human services arena, and what's the economic impact of that. But again, we also have to be thinking about, just like we're sitting here, is that what are the true numbers to be able to do that? And again, I know from being here long enough that I know organizations outside of human services have come together and figured out the dollar that they need to be able to move the initiatives forward that are important. But this, to me, is just as important as all those other initiatives, and we've got to figure out how to do this. So just know it's on my mind. I've talked to Michael. I'm happy to work with you. You know, we've figured to figure this out because of this what you've said today. So thank you. And everybody said, okay, Councilman Tyson, let's move this along. But again, my passion is here. Okay, so the next presenter is going to be, so it's Maud and Netta, is it right? Okay, so I don't know who's going to hit the podium first, but Maud, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Tyson. I'm Maud Hill from Homeport, and this is Netta Whitman, the director of the program. And so we are thankful for your support to allow us to continue to create a cornerstone of dignity and security and opportunities to provide good quality housing and strong communities for our residents. So I'm going to stop on that note and have Netta to speak about the program.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. I appreciate this opportunity. The mission of she covered that. Our mission allows us to provide on-site programming for our low to moderate income Central Ohio residents to help with their financial stability, financial security, and asset building. So the City of Columbus is a valued member, a valued partner with Homeport in funding our programs that served a total of 1,622 individuals and families in 2017. The City of Columbus's support of the Homeport Housing Advisory Services funds education workshops such as home readiness, homebuyer education, and financial literacy, as well as counseling such as foreclosure prevention, credit and budget, and post-purchase counseling. We are able to continue to offer these services because of the city funding. Without the city support, we would not be able to provide, not be able to serve the more than 1,600 consumers in the same capacity as we did this past year. The general geographic service area and client outcomes, our programs serve clients that reside in Columbus and throughout Central Ohio. In 2017, 83% of the households that we served were below HUD's area median income, and 35% of those households reported income below $30,000 a year. In 2017, Homeport graduated 584 participants from our home readiness and homebuyer education workshops. And although that's a little less than what our 2016 numbers produce, the new approach of creating our home readiness workshop allowed us to meet our participants right where they were. Home readiness helps our clients to find exactly what their path to homeownership looks like. It's not just like a general workshop that they would attend, but they attend this orientation, they get an understanding of what the program will require and what direction they should go to next. And part of that was created out of the need. We saw several families and individuals that were taking homebuyer education as though that was a magic wand to being able to create homeownership, but not fully understanding all the work that went into not just obtaining homeownership, but being successful at it. So we take them through the orientation, which then leads directly into credit and budget counseling, helping them to develop a budget and then determining what's next for them. So in 2017, 117 of our clients purchased homes, and that economic impact was $14.4 million in loans and community investment. 208 families received foreclosure prevention counseling, and we are on track to serving just as many families this year. Homeport provided reverse mortgage counseling for seniors in Central Ohio to 24 individuals, as well as our financial capabilities program, which is our financial literacy, our credit and budget counseling, as well as financial coaching to 419 individuals and families, assisting those families who reside both in Homeport communities as well as the general public. Oh, sorry. Just really quickly, the greatest challenge that we have is, of course, continued funding for our programs. We expect to see more cuts on the federal level to both pre-purchase and foreclosure counseling programs, which is still critical to continue the work in this community. And then we saw in 2017 the cut of the federally funded National Foreclosure Mitigation Counseling, and this has left a gap in being able to provide that counseling ongoing. And just really quickly, one of our success stories was a family that was experiencing some challenges with foreclosure. And although we were able to seek some cash assistance with them through the state does not pay for counseling. So without the city's funding, we would not have been able to help guide that family on the right path to being able to save their home and obtain assistance to carry them forward for at least 9 months until they found new employment.
Thank you, Netta, for that success story. And just and identifying the difference in what the state will fund and what the city comes in as funds a different program that also is important and for the totality of helping a family that have been in foreclosure. Right. So I thank you for coming down. The funds that Homeport has received for these programs is $40,000. And again, no, it's not. It's $50,000. I'm not going to look. It's $50,000. I'm sorry. I'm looking at another.
Well, don't cut
well,
it.
You have two programs. You have one was for 40 and one was for 50, so a total of $90,000. All right. Well, thank you for coming down and sharing. Thank you. Thank you. From ECDI is someone here? No, they're not here. From oh, they're here. Okay. Marissa. Is that Marissa? Kaloga and Tamar Forrest. Is that right? Tamar Forrest, Tamar. All right. I think I was looking around.
Well, thank you so much for having us here today. I'm Dr. Marissa Kaloga, Interim Director of ECDI's Women's Business Center, and I'm joined today with Dr. Tamar Forrest. She's our Vice President of Development at ECDI. ECDI's Women's Business Center is a hub of activity for Columbus women's entrepreneurs. It's a place to meet clients, find a mentor, get accounting support, write a business plan, learn how to negotiate, build confidence, and keep moving forward even when they feel like giving up. It's a one-stop shop that provides hands-on services in an inclusive, welcoming environment that supports underserved, low to moderate income women following their dream of starting and growing a small business. We give expert technical assistance, consulting, networking, events, training on small business development, and above all, a very crucial peer learning environment for women entrepreneurs. We also offer on-site business services like Wi-Fi, printing, computers, co-working space, and more. These are services that without the Women's Business Center of Ohio would not be available or accessible to underserved Columbus women at our highly subsidized rate. One example of this is Project Reimagine, which is a very high caliber business accelerator program. It's 9 weeks that focuses not only on increasing business, but building contacts and building community, and has been very successful for women in finding new contracts, getting funding for their businesses, and expanding their client base. But the impact of our work extends beyond the services that we provide. Our center exists as a catalyst, and it has a ripple effect that impacts individuals, families, neighborhoods, and communities. Since the City of Columbus's initial grant in 2015, your support has allowed us to provide hundreds of hours of training and counseling, and the result of that is to start and expand more than 63 businesses owned by Columbus women. But this leads to the creation of jobs. 141 jobs in our city, sustainable jobs, local jobs held by our neighbors. And if we consider that the average family size of 3 in Columbus, those 141 jobs affect the households of 423 people in our community, notwithstanding neighborhoods that gain more and better and closer goods and services provided by these businesses. We're able to do this work to impact our members and the city because the grant is made available by the City of Columbus. In order to maximize the impact of this grant, we leverage a lot of other resources, multiple funding sources, including grant dollars from the SBA, Ohio CDC, and bank partners such as PNC, Fifth Third, and Chase. But without your support, we might not be able to leverage these funds, these federal SBA funds that are vital to sustaining our work. There is a lot of buzz around diverse and inclusive small business development, but the Women's Business Center is what that actually looks like on the ground. We strive to provide high-caliber, quality business development services to everyone through dedicated support, expertise, encouragement, and access to capital, which is crucial to get the ball rolling. The WBC requests the continued support of the City of Columbus as we work daily to build a thriving city economy that includes diverse women's entrepreneurs as part of its success.
Some of the ways that we have just begun to enhance our programs to address gaps include addressing specific industries locally, and that is working with a cohort of women within the realm of construction, ensuring they get certified, have access to industry-specific classes. Just yesterday, a class on contracts that we're going to do again because it was full. We're also going to start to outreach in an improved way. We're going to continue to do all this great work in our center, and then we're also going to go out in the community and meet people where they live, where they work, and where they socialize. We're going to do this starting in 2 areas. One, we're going to be in the South Side, doing some work there, and we're also going to be doing cohorts working specifically in the refugee community. We're going to do this through a new outreach strategy that's going to create a close-knit group through what we're going to call a lending circle. We're going to do really intensive, culturally competent technical assistance in small groups that are connected by where they live, by their industry interests, and meeting them in their community. And so we're really excited about those 2 new areas.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for sharing the success that you are having working with women in our community. Excited about the areas that you said are gaps that you see in the community and that you're focused on those. And the funding you receive for the city for these programs is $73,760. Thank you for coming down and sharing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Our next speaker is from the Gladden Community House. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and first I just wanted to start out, like everyone does, is thanking you, Ms. Councilmember Tyson, as well as the other council members, for your ongoing support for Gladden's Food Pantry. We are located in Franklinton, and you know, you are a very large part of our budget, and we just appreciate the ongoing support. So I don't think we would be able to, as you say, keep our ship afloat as well without the funding that we receive from the city. We are serving around 1,000 families a month. We are one of the few pantries that offer deliveries to seniors in their homes, folks that are homebound as well. And a lot of shout out to Mid-Ohio Food Bank. We receive all our food from Mid-Ohio Food Bank. We're spending around $550 a week to pick up and unload 10,000 pounds of food, which goes in and out of our doors by the end of the week. Thank you to Mid-Ohio Food Bank for our fresh produce. We have produce available every single day at our pantry. That also goes out with our deliveries. We have produce markets in the summer that usually run May through September. And some of the new, I guess, collaborations that we've developed this year, we work with Diaper Coalition. We've given away about over 4,000 diapers. We also, we have an Ohio Benefit Bank worker that is in our pantry 2 days a week. We were eligible to receive CFSP food boxes, which is an additional food box from Mid-Ohio Food Bank just for seniors, and that is something new this year. So our seniors are able to get not only their regular food box, but as well as that additional amount of food. Our pantry director has done a really good job with bringing in other outside resources in, health checks, nutritional education, flu shots. The Breathing Association mobile bus works out of our pantry, as well as we provide transportation for folks to Mount Carmel's cooking classes as well. We utilize Pantry Track to be tracking folks, and we also kind of use the pantry as a hub to connect people to other resources over at Gladden, which is in a separate building. So if they need utility assistance, if they are needing rental assistance, preschool, senior programming, everyone in the front office is trained to assess folks and make that linkage and referral for them over at Gladden so they can, receive ongoing support at the main building as well as their food needs at the pantry.
Any gaps or challenges?
Gaps, aren't there always? So big gaps, we have a very small building space. I don't know if you've ever been in our building, but it is incredibly small. We rent our space. We would be able, I was just talking to Marilyn, we'd be able to expand our capacity if we were able to have, a larger space. And I would say that is our number one barrier, as well as, of course, money to purchase food. The cost of food has gone up over the years, and even though Mid-Ohio Food Bank is a wonderful partner, often we can't provide a lot of the variety that we'd like to because we just have to kind of budget those funds throughout the week in order to have food on the shelves.
All right. Well, I can, food is just a basic need.
Right.
And so I appreciate the work that you're doing. As you mentioned that you're serving 1,000 families a month. And, the food plan that Commissioner Grady and I worked on for the city of Columbus and for the county in Columbus is, making sure that everyone has access to food, healthy food, affordable food, and local food, obviously. And so I just appreciate the work for the food pantry, and certainly there are individuals, there are people who are working every single day that need to come and still get resources from GLAD and other food pantries, and just appreciate the work that you're doing, and also the connecting people, because if you probably are coming to the food pantry, there are probably other services
other things, yeah.
that you need.
Right.
And very thankful that that Gladden is there to provide those. And I'm also very pleased that you are, one, providing diapers to families, and two, the boxes for our seniors and delivery to seniors. And I know that, Marilyn's in the audience from Mid-Ohio Food Bank, and I'm sure she's very thankful that you have certainly shared all the great work of Mid-Ohio Food Bank, and I'm appreciative of that too. But again, just that you were there, and Marty, to be able to serve our community and provide these resources. So thank you for coming and sharing, and thank you for letting us know that your building space is a detriment, not having enough space to be able to serve more. So Thank you for coming
All
and
right,
sharing.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, I forgot to, and you're getting your funding for.
You're giving us $1 million.
Yes, wouldn't that be great?
Just
So
add a couple more
presently-
zeros to what's on that piece of paper.
That would be right. So right now, it's $92,900.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Darn.
yes. I think everyone would say, we need a few extra zeros. You're right. Okay, thank you. All right, so our next speaker is from Huckleberry House. Becky, how are you? Good.
I brought a little handout, which I can, okay?
Get it. Thank you.
Because I do want to use my time to talk about gaps.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
there's one sheet on each program. So the city, and I was reminded because we're actually planning for our 50th anniversary coming up in 2020, that the city was an original funder of our shelter. So as kind of the people that got us started, I have an extra special thank you for that. You fund our crisis shelter and our street outreach program, and when I think of those two programs, I think of them as our combined effort to participate in the city's safety net for youth and children, because it isn't safe for children to be out there. They need to be in here, and that is the fundamental principle of both the community as well as Huckleberry House. And I'm reminded, I was sitting next to Aaron from Bravo, being the target of violence or aggression can harm all other aspects of your life. And so having that is critical, and both of our programs support getting youth to the services that they need, and more importantly, the safety that they need. But I also want to talk about how our community is in the middle of a struggle right now. And that struggle has to do with youth who are falling between the gap that we have created between the youth-serving community and the adult providers. And I think that we're very focused right now on homeless youth, and I appreciated your comment about a big number, because I think we already have a big number, and that is that annually around 1,000 out of the 8,000 people that go into our adult shelters are between the ages of 18 and 24. And if you stop to think about that, it basically means that your graduation gift, your gift for becoming an adult is that you become homeless, because these children are falling hard and fast into deep poverty. And when I think about that, I think about how we need to respond to these teens and young adults from a holistic point of view, not as a youth provider like Huckleberry House or an adult provider as an adult shelter. And we had to think about these kids, and you think about yourself or your own children. These are young people who have limited adult support, they're unprepared to live independently, and they are unable to support themselves through their own employment. These are things that we can address if we get both groups, both sides of this equation, thinking about how they can promote supporting that transition. And as a youth services provider, that means that we need to have more focus on independent living and preparation for adult systems. And on the adult providers side, they need to adapt their services to people who are at a very unique developmental stage. So that is my challenge to our community. I know that the work that Kim is doing with the shelter board, that we're talking about this, but we need to focus. It's doable right now. If we just change our thinking a little bit. We don't have to change everything, but we can change how we do things enough that we don't have a young person who goes from the support and the care in a youth program into an adult homeless shelter. We can fix that. And if you could just put that on your to-do list, that would be great. It's a small thing. you were going to give Marty $1 million. You could just fix this one thing.
I think we have to, again, why this is important is that we're putting down these issues that are in our community. And I think that to fix them does require people, human resources, and financial resources.
Yes.
It does. And so I think we should have more conversations about this. Obviously, if they're in the shelter, because it is very different if you're 18 to 24, 18-year-olds, and even 24-year-olds. They still require adult assistance to be successful. So,
and I would just say about that number, and again, I know that the city is taking a leadership role on this, but that age group is disproportionate to Franklin County. We have more, we have more young people going to the adult shelters than you would expect if you were just looking at the age demographics. So that's something we have to really think about, and I agree. I think that we could focus our resources and create a challenge for both sides of the equation to be more responsive.
thank you, Becky. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you.
And working with our young people. And like I said, I think the number is, once we start putting these issues down, what these numbers are because these are the needs of our young people. We have there are just many different needs because each of your organizations focus in different areas, and there's just different needs in the community that we have to think about how do we meet those to ensure prosperity for all. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Life Care Alliance. See Meals on Wheels for under 60 and Columbus Cancer Clinic Home Care Support. Andrea, is that right? Andrea Orman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just to start off, on behalf of our 20,000 clients that we have at Life Care Alliance, I do just want to take a moment and say thank you for your time and your passion as you sit here and listen to all of us today. We so appreciate your dedication to the residents of the city of Columbus and how we can continue to help them thrive. So the first program that I'll talk about a little bit today is our Meals on Wheels Under 60 program. And this is it's a smaller section of our traditional Meals on Wheels program, which thanks to the city, the support of the city, we can provide these meals to individuals who are under 60 years of age, which is an age group where funding is not typically readily available for these individuals. Last year, funding from the city allowed us to provide over 40,000 home-delivered meals to clients living within the city of Columbus. These clients have a medical challenge or a disability that makes them homebound and where they cannot prepare their own meals for themselves. The funded services prevent hospitalization and homelessness by providing vital nutrition and increasing access to basic needs. We talked about how food is a basic need, and oftentimes these folks aren't able to prepare or shop for their own food. This program has continued to be able to accept all clients in need, regardless of an individual's ability to pay, which can also be a barrier to healthy food. These clients are typically individuals who are at risk of hunger or food insecurity. The fastest growing population receiving Meals on Wheels at Life Care Alliance are individuals aged 50 to 60 with a major health challenge or disability. This is a large demographic shift we're seeing, and these folks unfortunately fall between the cracks of where most of our funding can serve them that's linked to an age requirement. Many clients in this population are also living with an HIV/AIDS diagnosis. Life Care Alliance is the only food nutrition provider for people living with HIV and AIDS in Columbus specifically, which has the largest HIV/AIDS population in the state. By providing services to enable them to remain safe and independent in the comfort of their own homes, We help keep them out of homeless shelters and nursing homes. These individuals remain independent and do not have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. Throughout the nation, only 2 other cities offer similar programming to people living with HIV/AIDS, meaning home-delivered meals. And we are happy to be one of very few cities receiving funding from the City of Columbus to support these programs. The next program I'll talk about is the Columbus Cancer Clinic. Our home care support program helps clients living with active cancer. Oftentimes, these clients are low-income clients who cannot afford to lose their job, which unfortunately happens, and then they lose all of their financial security as they're fighting a cancer diagnosis while also struggling to keep their families safe and independent as well. Funding from the City of Columbus last year made it possible for us to serve more than 650 clients. Your funding helps to provide transportation to and from chemoradiation appointments, groceries, pantry items, and nutritional supplements to help them fight their disease while in cancer treatments. In addition, the home care support program provided by the Columbus Cancer Clinic can provide emergency financial assistance to help clients pay rents and utilities, which is often an unfortunate case where they're facing evictions or utility shutoffs. Most organizations providing these services in the nation have closed their doors, but because of the support from the City of Columbus, the Columbus Cancer Clinic remains open and able to assist all of those in need. Life Care Alliance serves residents living in all neighborhoods of Columbus, and no one is turned away for services because of their inability to pay. For both programs, the City of Columbus helps its citizens stay in their home, thus reducing the need for additional taxpayer-funded services. AARP estimates that for each client we can partner to keep in their homes, the taxpayers save $62,000 per year. On behalf of Life Care Alliance and the clients we serve, thank you, Councilmember Tyson, for your time and support.
Andrea, thank you for coming down and certainly sharing. Let me ask before I make my other comments, are there any challenges that you see? I mean, obviously you've mentioned if we didn't fund this, what would be the outcome, but are there any challenges that you see in our community in these programs?
So the largest challenge facing the Columbus Cancer Clinic specifically is the availability of transportation. Many clients either are unable to drive themselves and would rely on a family member who may not be available to take them to chemo or radiation appointments, or they simply are unable to ride public transportation, and we work with each client individually to either provide reimbursement for their family member or if they drive themselves, or we can have a service pick them up and do door-to-door drop-off. That's really the service that's getting most utilized, and we're really seeing an increase in need for that.
Thank you for coming and sharing. It is so important that, like I said, food is a basic need that we have to make sure we are helping to provide to residents in our community. And the Meals on Wheels for under 60 is really an important program. I know you mentioned that a lot of individuals that are receiving these meals are individuals that certainly have, healthcare disabilities. But it also, you mentioned AIDS and HIV are individuals in our community. And we want to make sure, I know we are, from the site chair, obviously, the health committee, and just knowing that our numbers continue to increase in terms of HIV and AIDS. And certainly, we know that there's PrEP, people, PrEP is there for individuals to use if they hopefully can be able to have access to the drug. There are, I know the health department is just really, Columbus Public Health is just focused on providing information to individuals that to provide with information and different supplies that are necessary so that we don't continue to provide that, not to provide, but to continue to have that disease continue to keep rising in numbers. We know that individuals that from the African American community, where I'm getting ready to have a hearing in April in terms of health disparities, that we know that people of color certainly are where the numbers are continuing to grow in terms of HIV and AIDS. And so we've got to try to make sure that we're providing, I know we're providing information, but we've got to think about what do we do differently. I know Equitas Health is doing work. I see Karla Rothen here, Stonewall. People are focused on this, but the numbers are growing. But again, based upon that, we want to make sure that it's great to be, I'm very proud of Columbus for being able to have a program that focuses on individuals who have illnesses that are under 60 years old. And again, it's not just HIV and AIDS, there's all sorts of chronic illnesses that people have that prevent them from being able to prepare their own food. So I'm pleased that we are one of the few cities in the country that provides that. And that particular program is being funded through the City of Columbus at $285,055 to support individuals. Then the Columbus Cancer Clinic, $46,100. And certainly, if you have been diagnosed with cancer, you do not need the extra stress on your body to worry about, how you're going to get to the doctor to be able to be seen. If you have to get chemo or radiation, how you're going to get there. Or again, and there are, people don't realize, I don't think, that individuals who are still trying to work that have cancer so that they don't lose their jobs. And so the funding of this program is so important to the residents. And so I'm just pleased that we have it. And I definitely took your information in terms of the transportation is an issue in our community in terms of helping our residents in our community that have been diagnosed with cancer. So thank you for coming down and sharing the important work of life care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next presenter is going to be the Middle Ohio Food Bank. And I see Marilyn. I think Marilyn, who's come? Marilyn is Emily and Kate. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Madam Committee Chair and staff. For the official record, I am Marilyn Tomasi, Vice President at Mid-Ohio Food Bank, and with me today are Emily Alonso-Taub, who is VP of Development, and Kate Hubner, our Grants Manager with Mid-Ohio Food Bank. On behalf of those in our community who are hungry, we appreciate the opportunity to highlight our work resulting from our partnership with the city and to identify those priorities and gaps moving forward. A few years ago, Mid-Ohio Food Bank began a Food is Health journey with the city's help and the support of the administration, city council, and you in particular, Committee Chair Tyson, for your leadership and your work on the food plan, that we are able to connect more people with more nutritious food, thereby improving health outcomes while mitigating healthcare costs. Hunger has no face, no name, no political affiliation. While hunger doesn't discriminate, it does hurt. It exists in every neighborhood, school district, and social service program across Central Ohio. And hunger has a steep cost for Central Ohio families and the communities in which they live, and really for all of us, including the taxpayers. It afflicts our healthcare system, it erodes public education, it depreciates productive work environments, and it destabilizes homes. With the help of this grant, and actually many partners here in this room today, Mid-Ohio Food Bank is providing about 155,000 meals each and every day, connecting our hungry neighbors with farm-fresh, nutrient-dense produce where they live, in their neighborhoods. Right place, right food, right time. Yet, we still have a missing meal gap. In fact, in Franklin County alone, we are missing about 70 million missing meals. Specifically, this program and funding from April through October 2017, that has allowed the program to, one, distribute about 22.5 million pounds of food and groceries, 85% of which was fresh produce, to Columbus residents with household incomes at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. And two, all of this fresh produce was distributed through community-placed, high-need neighborhood produce markets. In fact, based on a survey of neighbors served at these produce markets, 80% cited cost as the single biggest barrier to accessing fresh produce. Still, we hold two unsettling statistics that we think about in this work going forward. One, we still have 1 in 4 kids in our community who don't know where their next meal is coming from, and yet 14 billion pounds of food are plowed under every year across our country. Food matters, and nutritious food matters more. Fresh food, especially produce, represents our best opportunity to feed our neighbors and build a hunger-free and healthier community. Produce is available, it's sustainable, and it's healthy. Moving forward, our challenges, though, are twofold. One, resources to secure more fresh food from the fields to provide through more access channels for clients. And two, mitigating our clients' fears of food running out, long lines, wait times at produce markets. They'll go around the block. This is especially true for many of our seniors, families with children, and those with medical struggles. They come to produce markets and think we're going to run out of food, so they'll come hours and hours early and stand and wait for that produce. It was when a hungry neighbor also told us that she could not afford to shop at a pantry or at a produce market. Can't afford free food? She explained that she couldn't afford to lose 8 hours of pay to come to a site that was only open when she was working. It was then that our work shifted, and our delivery of services is continuing to evolve to include an investment in the capacity of our partner network to do more, to improve access to nutritious food by expanding their hours and providing companion services, especially in high-need neighborhoods in our city. Thank you for the decades-long partnership with Mid-Ohio Food Bank. It is only when government, business, and charities come together that we can have any hope of ending hunger. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn, and the team that's with you today that is focused on making sure that individuals have, well, individuals at the end product or the end recipient, but working with all the nonprofit organizations to ensure that individuals have access to food. It's interesting when you mentioned that a person they come early and because they feel like the food won't be there when they get there, and that you've heard that need and beginning to address how to address that, and making sure that maybe that there's the organizations who are providing the food to their residents that they're not going to run out of food. I mean, and I think that people will see that if they come at a different time and the food is still there. So that's great. And also for listening in terms of, again, those wait times. And so that these organizations are trying to change their schedules to meet their clients' needs because they are their clients. And so I appreciate that. And that you've thought it through to how to make that work. And still, these 1 in 4 kids that don't know where their next meal is coming from, that's just unacceptable. And how do we as a community make sure that that's not acceptable? Because that's, like you said, hunger does hurt. Hunger hurts. So I thank you for the work that you're doing, and certainly, and you guys are doing this innovative work. I mean, when I talk to Matt and just from building gardens in different communities and just making that you guys are just so committed to changing hunger in our community. The last is that every individual should have up to 5 fruits and vegetables every single day. And that's why those produce markets are so important. 5 a day. And lacking that, does not help an individual in terms, you're right, as being, if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to be successful, whether you're a child at school, whether you're a adult going to work. And so these produce markets are critically important to the overall health and welfare of our residents. And so I thank you for that, and we need to make sure that every person has the opportunity to have 5 fruits and vegetables every single day. So thank you. And the funding that you are currently receiving is $184,400 from Human Services.
Okay,
Right?
and I have written for the record.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down. Thank you for your leadership. The next presenter is from St. Stephen's Community House. I'm sorry. Did I skip? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Salvation Army, the Material Assistance Services, and Krista Edwards and Alex Frederick are coming. And then we'll have St. Stephen's, and then Stonewall. And then the Center for Healthy Families will be coming over tomorrow, so then the Boys and Girls Club will be after that. Good afternoon.
Hello.
It's good to see you again.
You too. So I am Krista Edwards, and I'm the Director of Social Services, and this is Alex Frederick, and she is new to the Salvation Army and is the Assistant Director of Social Services, and our Material Assistance Services is her area responsibility. So I'm passing the wand to her to let her explain our program.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Edwards.
Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for having us today, and thank you for all of your support, and especially the City of Columbus' support as well. Just to kind of highlight a little bit about our primary services that we do within material assistance, we really highlight the basic needs. We really want to meet the needs of, first, the food and hunger need for those who are food insecure within the City of Columbus. We meet that need by having our 5 choice food pantries at different locations throughout the city. We provide produce at 2 of our pantry locations. We have assistance through the Furniture Bank, rent and utility assistance, the Senior Food Box, where we serve 14,000 senior citizens a year. And additionally, we serve a lot of families and children at Christmas cheer during the Christmas time. So just to talk a little bit about our some of the priorities that we really see within the community and with our scope of material assistance is really providing access to healthy foods within the community. And so the way that we do this is our food pantries, and we provide our collaboration with Fresh Time pickups to do the produce at our locations. We have seen some barriers in providing, sorry, I lost my train of thought. We have seen some barriers in some of our pantries being busier than others. For example, our Main Street location, our primary pantry, is a lot busier than some of maybe our other locations. And so really wanting to make sure that we are bringing in foods and being able to utilize those foods in the best way for the city of Columbus. Some of the other barriers that we've seen in just providing food on a general level would be just the purchasing of food can be costly, especially when we want to provide the healthiest of foods. And so that's something that we have noticed as some of our barriers. Just on a bigger scope within the community, we've noticed that we see a lot of needs for rental assistance, and there is a little bit of rental assistance that's provided through EFSP, but that's limited in what we're able to provide. And so that's probably one of a really big area where we can see a gap within the community at large. And then just to kind of highlight one of our success stories we've had in the last year, we had one, and this is just one of many, many of the, let's see, how many did we serve? 11,173 households that we served. And we had a wheelchair-bound female client that came into one of our Hilltop location pantries, and she really had initially her need was that she had gotten a disconnect notice for her gas. And so we were able to really help foster case management and provide a lot of community networking. We were able to complete an application for the heat share program and be able to prevent her gas from being shut off, which was a wonderful thing. Additionally, we were able to connect her with our food pantry and help provide some additional support in meeting her hunger needs. We also were able to connect her with our Lord's Table weekly lunch program, and she was able to come in for that. And then just continue to assist her and work with her on an ongoing basis with connecting her with community referrals that were available to her. So that was one of our success stories. And anything else you wanted to add, Krista?
Great.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your new opportunity to
Thank
be
you.
with.
As you can tell, I'm a little nervous.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's a beautiful room, but it's big.
Well, thank you. Again, congratulations on your new opportunity.
Thank you.
And appreciate that you've been able to serve 11,173 people. And I also care, you're here to learn about the challenges. And certainly, can you just share with me just the purchasing of food? Tell me I don't know, since you're new there, if you could address it, but tell me what you're seeing in the purchasing of food. Is it the food from Middle Ohio Food Bank that's going up? Is it food from other sources? But just kind of share with me the challenge that you're seeing with purchasing of food.
It's mainly food from other sources. We do partner with Mid Ohio Food Bank, and that's clearly the cheapest opportunity that we have. But then purchasing through other vendors, because sometimes quantities are limited through the food bank. There's a lot of pantries trying to fight for the inventory. So with the choice pantries, we're committed to making sure we have options through the different food categories, like fruits, vegetables, proteins, miscellaneous, grains, all of the food plate items. And so there are times where we need to go to alternate vendors, which it's not full retail, but it's higher priced items. We've worked with some other food pantries, other partners in the community to try to do a bulk purchasing, because in bulk, the more you buy, the cheaper it is. But all pantries have issues with space. So that's not always the best opportunity. That's the best way to get the lowest price, but it's not as easy to store all the food that we would need to buy. So that's where the network of pantries came in to play, and that helped. So that's just one strategy that we use, but it's really just trying to purchase enough food to provide that choice, and then healthy food is naturally more expensive as well. I mean, we can get a lot of Hamburger Helper for a cheaper deal, but it's not the best opportunity for our families.
You just mentioned, again, I think, because from, was not Gottman Gill, but from Gladden, they were mentioning also just space. So, I mean, so you're finding that if you could purchase more food, that they're still, for the best prices, the challenge is there's not space to be able to house the products.
Yeah, in those quantities, it's
In those
difficult.
kinds
Like,
of quantities.
We have, some pantries have plenty of space, and then like our pantry on the hilltop has like no storage space. We've had to cut off part of the room to create some storage space within that facility, but then the rest of the room is where the food is displayed. So space is, I think, always going to be an ongoing issue for pantry providers.
All right, and you also mentioned that your Main Street store is one that is heavily visited, and that maybe your other pantries, they are visited, but they're not either as heavily visited, and do you have any reason why that may be the case?
I think that's more about our capacity. I don't think it's necessarily need in the community, because we're in very high need communities. It's more capacity because the pantries are open for a smaller window because the same staff is providing the other services that we provide, like the utility assistance, the rent assistance, benefit bank, those types of things. So we're stretching staff. So the pantry is open for a few less hours than it is at East Main. And we had, traditionally East Main is open to the entire city, whereas our others are they're bound by a zip code list, so that just those like neighboring zip codes. So we've divided up the city by zip code, but we opened up East Main because it was a larger pantry to serve the entire city if somebody needed it. So we could just kind of reach out.
So staffing would be a concern. If you had more staff, then possibly there'd be more food provided because you have longer hours, and then you'd have, and then the other staff would be able to meet the other needs that the community has.
Yes.
So thank you, and thank you for giving not only myself but the listening and viewing audience an opportunity just to hear when a person does come to the food bank, that all the other services, as I mentioned earlier, all the other services that may be needed and how you're providing those services. Thank you, and let me see. So, and you're receiving for referrals for the basic emergency needs for 10,000 houses. Where's your goal? You've surpassed your goal, and you receive $115,250.
That is correct.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. All right, then our next speaker is from St. Stephen's, and it is Amy Kearns. I'm saying Amy. Oh, Amy's not coming up. Okay. Okay. All right. So again, please share your name again into the microphones.
My name is Michelle Jameson, and I am the Neighborhood Intervention Specialist at St. Stephen's Community House.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. St. Stephen's Community House is also coming up on its 100th year anniversary in 2019, and none of that would be possible without the support of the city. Today, I'm here on behalf of the Neighborhood Services Department. Neighborhood Services consists of 3 programs: the Ohio Health, Food, and Nutrition Center, which includes our semi-monthly produce market, the Christmas Cares Union Shares Program, and finally, our Material Assistance Program, which is largely made up of our Baby Nook. The Ohio Health, Food, and Nutrition Center receives fresh produce hygiene items and resources to the Linden residents of the community and the surrounding neighborhoods who need assistance. We provide services to 8 different zip codes, 5 days a week, with client-centered focuses on compassion, choice, dignity, and self-sufficiency, all in efforts to eliminate the problem of food insecurity, poor nutrition and health, and infant mortality in our community, as well as filling gaps in knowledge and access. In 2017, we served over 10,000 families. That's 4,400 unduplicated, with an average of 900 families per month. In addition to the pantry, we also have our seasonal free fresh produce market. Our produce markets are held twice a month and available to all income-eligible residents of Franklin County. And in 2017, we serviced 2,032 families. Our Christmas Cares Union Shares program is a partnership between local unions, first responders, and St. Stephen's Community House to provide food and toys to our families in our servicing area during the holiday season. And in 2017, we were able to serve over 2,300 families in need. These 2 programs have thrived over the years with several successes, providing a holiday meal and toys for families during the holiday season. Thousands of families continuously depend on the food pantry. We've recently created a resource fair to incorporate during our produce markets to better assist families in need, and we've also increased our donations by creating relationships with churches, local schools, and organizations, all of which demonstrate successes. While these 2 programs continue to grow over the years, with many successes, our final program has the potential to have a positive impact as well on the community. Through our material assistance program, we are able to support families with linkages to community resources, such as the Ohio Benefit Bank, PIP, rental assistance through our completion of FEMA applications, as well as referrals to St. Stephen's very own Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook. The Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook is an incentive-based program which provides education, support, and resources to expectant moms and parents in the greater Linden area. We believe that our nurturing, holistic approach effectively lessens barriers to healthy parenthood and childhood in efforts to reduce infant mortality in the Linden community. This is accomplished by offering referrals to partner agencies and supplying access to basic nutrition, needs, and food while delivering tools for self-sufficiency. Celebrate One has also stated that the main causes of high infant mortality in the Linden community is due to premature births, birth defects, unsafe sleeping practices, parental smoking, and overall poor neighborhood health. Since 2007, the Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook has addressed these issues by providing a community space for new parents to learn about addressing continuing education, job readiness, healthy relationships, housing and legal services, reentry programs, literacy programs, all while earning points to buy items in the Baby Nook. In 2017, the Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook is pleased to have served over 87 families. Some of the successes in the Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook include, but are not limited to, healthy babies, a sense of self-sufficiency, gaining employment, re-enrolling in school, obtaining driver's license, and even opening a bank account. St. Stephen's Community House and the Brightening Little Lives is a great opportunity to educate parents and address high infant mortality rates that currently exist in the Linden community. With minimal funding, we currently are limited to the resources we have, and unfortunately, we're unable to expand any services. While similar programs across the city have an entire team, we have one coordinator, me. With your continued support, increased funding, and generous donations, the Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook has the potential to impact even more moms and parents and young children with hopes of eliminating barriers they currently face and to ultimately reduce infant mortality in our community. Thank you again for your time and the opportunity to let us tell you about the services we provide at St. Stephen's Community House.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't walk away yet. I'm just going to ask, what challenges do you still see in your community?
Challenges for transportation. Financially speaking, I am the only person at this time to coordinate, facilitate, stock, do inventory, cook the meals for the Brightening Little Lives Baby Nook, which we currently had to reduce to bi-monthly, twice a month, the first and the third Tuesday of the month, because it just was a little overwhelming. So with continued support, maybe more volunteers, a little extra funding, we'll be able to get somebody else in there to help me out in reducing for mortality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and so and St. Stephen's is receiving $154,645 for these programs. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome. All right, our next presenter is going to be Karla Rothen. Hi, Karla, from Stonewall, Columbus. And first, let me just say that I'm excited for you, for your future, for your retirement or moving.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm also very sad, since certainly I've been on council, that you've been just a joy to work with in our community. You have, anytime we've called on you to gather information, to partner, you've always said yes and been there. I've appreciated the work that you've done on the, in Columbus Recs and Parks, on the, look at the title, the Commission for Recs and Parks Commission. And just, you've always been there to support this community and making sure that this is a community that's open and welcoming to all. And I have appreciate your leadership. I've watched you grow your organization, certainly growing into your, getting into your new building, but just growing the organization to provide more services to us. So I wanted to make sure I just took this opportunity just to say thank you for your leadership.
You're going to make me cry.
I don't want to make you cry, but since you're here, I have to really
Thank you so much.
publicly say it's been really an honor and a privilege to work with you.
Well, you know, you and I started in January of 2007, right?
Yes.
I was the interim for a while, and then I became the director in March of 2007. So we started on this journey together.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say that it has been a wonderful journey and an honor and a privilege of a lifetime to work with you in this city to change lives. And I thank you so much for your service. So you have graciously funded Stonewall Columbus for many, many years prior to my tenure. But today we talk about intake and referral and our veterans program. So one of the biggest successes of 2017 is the completion of our capital campaign to build the first and only LGBTQ community center in Central Ohio. The campaign was launched 3 years ago and involves key members of our community. Stonewall completed a needs assessment to find out the ways in which we can serve underserved people in Columbus. The committee set out to raise $3.5 million in pledged gifts and to renovate and restore that property on the corner of 4th and High. And even though this is about operating dollars today, our city has given to us $250,000, $250,000 in capital improvement dollars for those old buildings over the years. And so we are very grateful for that. You are a big partner in this success. So construction's happening now. It's actually starting to look like a real building, and it's slated to be completed in July of 2018. So I will be here at least until I see that come to fruition. So don't worry about that. So older adults is really a big focus of Stonewall Columbus. It's one of our strongest programs. As you know, we want to try to make sure people age in place. I had a big background when I worked for the city under the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, so I saw how important it was for us to serve our older adults, and so that program is flourishing. And even though we're not in our building right now with these programs, we're scattered all over the city, we still have a deep touch in with all of our folks that are being served. We have some wonderful transgender support programs that are in our faith community now. They're at a church. Recreation and Parks has given us Thompson Recreation Center to use for many of our meetings and classes and social interactions. So that has been wonderful partnership. But Our goal, as always, is to connect people, help them find resources as they age, and also as they maneuver through the community in trying to find help and support. So other areas of success is our New Americans program, which is a collaboration with the Community Refugee and Immigrant Services, CRIS. Currently, we're working with 13 LGBTQ refugees from places like Uganda, Somalia, and Iraq. Grants to those individuals help them and are awarded to help them with housing and food, transportation, and relocation. So some of the challenges that we faced is in response to our community's request, we've realized that the necessity of not only support groups, which tend to serve individuals in crisis, but also general social groups that allow people in the community to get together, build friendships, not surrounded with alcohol. You know, many in the old days, and even now sometimes, our community finds each other in bars and not such a healthy atmosphere. So that has been our historical way that we have created our families of choice, right? Well, our center is going to help to alleviate that, and hopefully our challenge is to develop and implement, promote new healthy social programs that celebrate friendship and connection, offer safe places and networks for folks to create their families of choice and to thrive and to grow. So we saw some successes with this in 2018, but still need to increase the healthy events that we offer to our community. Another challenge is that our programs continue to grow, but we are scattered around the city, so that's been tough. But I think that as we build out 15,000 square feet for this community with an elevator and a beautiful kitchen and a new roof that you all put on there, I think that we're going to see much success, and if you build it, they will come, and I have a feeling that it's going to be very big. So future needs. As our community has some of the same needs as the wider community, and all of our partners here today, many of who we refer out to when we're in need, the Mid-Ohio Food Bank, Huckleberry House, all of these folks are our partners. We are facing the opiate crisis as well. So we have crystal meth is a big problem in our community, as is the opiate crisis. So we also suffer from poverty. We're hungry. We got all of those folks, you know, Star House is 40% of the folks that go to Star House are from our community, so we're working with them to partner and create some programs inside so that folks are connected to the center as they're trying to find housing and build their lives after they have been homeless for a very long time. And addiction. Of course, as you know, all marginalized communities face addiction issues, so being able to recover in a safe environment with people that are just like you is very, very important, and it's much more sustainable. So I think one of the keys to our success has been our collaborations, and we have Adam H. funds North Central Mental Health to give us 2 skilled counselors at the center. I see that growing in the future because these are for the uninsured individual, and under our previous administration, we got a lot of people health insurance, right? Well, now, a lot of the providers are pulling out, and so costs are rising, and people are deciding, hey, maybe I don't need health insurance. Maybe I need to eat instead of getting health insurance, you know, so they're not able to afford it. So I think that the numbers for our counseling will probably increase in the coming years just because of the climate on the federal level. So we'd signed up a lot of people for the ACA, and I think some people are opting out now, and it's unfortunate. So the other program we have is our veterans program. So our Veterans Discharge Review Program continued in 2017, and although we saw the departure of one of our in-house resources for that, we found alternative resources in the community. So Stonewall has continued its renewed robust collaboration with the Columbus VA, particularly with the LGBTQ liaison there. This enhanced partnership has allowed us to better connect our LGBTQ veterans to VA benefits, trauma counseling, and support groups. It has enabled Stonewall to problem solve regarding specific veterans issues such as access to benefits and miscommunications that may occur. So our 5th annual LGBT Veterans Recognition Month happened this year. We honored 4 individuals, and then we expanded that a little bit, and we honored 2 spouses of our veterans, because you know they keep the home fires burning when people go off to be stationed somewhere else, and so we wanted to make sure we honored the spouses And the ability for us to marry now makes it even more pleasant for us to honor those families. We did video profiles of each of those honorees, and of course, our council gave us some great recognition certificates for everybody, as did a lot of our elected officials, so that was wonderful. And so we continue to see enormous success with our Veterans Social Group, which is 15 to 20 veterans participating in monthly social activities so that they can build community that way. And then, of course, they have a support group that just talks peer-to-peer about what they're facing, whether it's a post-traumatic stress syndrome, whether they're having trouble in their families, what the needs are for them. And some of the challenges, we're limited with our discharge review capacity, so we're utilizing pro bono resources from outside of Stonewall, but the process itself is very time-consuming and it's slow. So it takes an average of 1.5 years to get an official decisions for some of these folks. So we hope to be able to acquire additional resources to help with that effort, but it has been tough. Additionally, we still strive to increase participation in our Veterans Social Group and to increase attendance at our Veterans Recognition event in November. And we had, I think, over 125 people at this last one at the VA. So it has grown quite a bit, and it was awesome to have all of our folks there to celebrate. So future concerns, I think the current administration has not been very supportive of our LGBTQ veterans, and what type of sentiment is obvious, and it comes from the top, it comes from your federal government, it breaks down self-esteem for our vets who people have openly served their country and don't feel that they're supported or recognized for that. And that's why our program is so important, because I think that it helps to build that back up a little bit if they can have the recognition here at home. So we want to make sure that we hear from them and we listen to them and we find out what their future needs are as we move forward.
Thank you, Ms. Rothen, for coming down and
Thank
certainly
you.
sharing your successes and sharing what the future needs of residents in our community are in need of. And just thank you for coming and sharing, and just, again, your leadership. And I know these programs right now are supported at around $82,306. And these programs are so important because, again, everyone needs to feel welcome in our community and have the support to be able to make sure that they're living their best quality of life, and that's happening through your work.
Thank you.
And sharing
Thank
what
you
we
so
need to do to
much.
make sure that that we're listening to these challenges as you think about the funding for as we move forward. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next presenter is going to be Doug Wolf, who's representing the Boys and Girls Club of Columbus. Good afternoon, Doug.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Tyson. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Doug Wolf, Chief Strategy Officer at Boys and Girls Clubs of Columbus. And for the past 4 years, Boys and Girls Clubs has received funding from the Human Service line item in the city's budget. This funding has helped us open new clubs, enter into innovative partnerships with public and private institutions in the community, and most importantly, serve more kids. In 2017, we served nearly 6,000 young people between the ages of 5 and 18 in the greater Columbus area with much success. We have a growing summer partnership with Columbus City Schools that allows us to extend the service hours and eliminate summer learning loss for more than 1,200 Columbus City elementary school students. We've launched a case management strategy that helps us keep middle school youth on track for successful transition into high school. And our summer youth employment program provided 200 teens a first job experience. As we move through 2018, we're poised to scale our most innovative programs and partnerships, and we look forward to continuing our work with Columbus City Schools, Columbus Recreation and Parks, and Nationwide Children's Hospital, allowing us to open more sites and scale services for the young people who need us most. And that's exactly the gap we need to fill, increasing access for our young people, but not just safe spaces for our kids, safe spaces that provide comprehensive programming. And we know that our outcomes are not just contingent on programming, but the relationships that our kids make with our adults, in particular our professional staff. And we've had much success there too, as we launched a summer fellowship program for current and emerging youth development professionals, providing training for over 100 individuals that serve as a pipeline for our staff, as well as a pipeline for other youth-serving organizations and creation of a large volume of advocates for our youth across the city. Our partnership with the City of Columbus provides critical funding, and I would like to express our support for the city's continued investment in human services organizations like Boys and Girls Clubs and our partners in the room today. Boys and Girls Clubs encourages the city to continue a focus on organizations that offer high-quality experiences for young people and outcome-driven programs. Boys and Girls Clubs of Columbus continues to emerge as a local and national leader in the youth development space, and we look forward to being your partner as we implement and advance best practices and programs throughout our city. Thank you again for your investment in Boys and Girls Clubs of Columbus, and most importantly, our most important asset, our kids. Our work would not be possible without your support. Thank you.
Are there any challenges that you're seeing?
I think the primary challenge is the access, as we have particularly a growing population.
I'm sorry, your access to what? I'm sorry.
Access to programs and services for youth, particularly comprehensive out-of-school time programs. More broadly, I think it would behoove us to consider a set of quality standards and metrics across youth-serving organizations in which we can compare our outcomes across organizations, as well as share best practices to continue to advance the services for our young people.
Another question is that you said that you had, I think you had youth employment you had for 200 teens, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And my question is, did you have more teens that were interested in these youth employment opportunities than you were able to have in your program?
Yeah, I think there's two significant opportunities there. One is we do have more youth that are interested in those employment opportunities, and the challenge has been our capacity to serve those youth effectively. So provision of case management through our staff and onboarding job coaches for the summer is a challenge. The ratio of youth to job coaches is, from my perspective, inappropriate to allow us to serve those youth optimally.
All right, thank you. And the Boys and Girls Club are receiving $69,150 from this grant. Thank you. The next presenter is going to be, I think, Sally Levy, and from representing the maybe not Sally. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping ahead because, okay, I'm sorry, Columbus Speech and Hearing, Comprehensive Program for the Deaf. Scott Jones, I'm sorry.
To talk to you about Columbus Speech and Hearing. Columbus Speech and Hearing has been serving individuals with speech and hearing needs for almost 100 years, helping individuals with disabilities to obtain and maintain employment for more than 45 years. Formerly known as Comprehensive Program for the Deaf, Careers for People with Disabilities, or CPD, offers a wide range of vocational services for individuals of all disabilities. CPD serves a diverse group of people with varying levels of skills, education, and work experience. CPD served 255 people in 2017, while they serve a total of 8 counties in Central Ohio. The large majority, 91% of referrals, come from Columbus Metro Office of Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, OOD. CPD serves eligible individuals age 16 and older, 17 to 71, with significant disabilities and other obstacles to employment, including legal challenges and lack of knowledge about other resources such as child care and transportation. OOD authorizes the center to provide services. In 2017, we offered a total of 49 modules, soft skills and soft skills for life, which was a grant-funded program that I want to talk to you about, with a curriculum of 11 sites in the Columbus area, including various community partners and local schools. As of February, more than 23 individual modules have been successfully facilitated. Soft skills modules include topics for success and for interests, communication, avoiding stereotyping, and appreciating uniquenesses and abilities. Modules are open to any persons with disabilities, not only related to speech and hearing, with interests in learning and practicing these skills. This program has allowed CPD not only to expand its existing services offered, but to open up services to the community. This is my first time being here.
That's okay, and we're so happy that you are here. And so we are happy that you are with us, Mr. Jones, and just really appreciate the work that Columbus Speech and Hearing provides our residents, and that you stated that your programming is for individuals from 17 to 71, correct?
Correct.
Correct. And that individuals don't have to have speech and hearing as a disability, but any person that has a disability can use your services, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And so if anyone in our viewing and listening audience wants to take, be involved in some of the soft skill modules at Columbus Speech and Hearing, can they contact you at Columbus Speech and Hearing, or who should they contact?
They can contact Gail Stanford
Gail
or myself.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So again, for our viewing and listening audience, please contact either Mr. Jones or Ms. Gail Stanford.
Correct.
Thank you. If you'd want to participate in any of the soft skill modules, that will again help you to be able to look for gainful employment.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you very
and
much.
you're receiving for these programs $30,149.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right. So now the United Way of Central Ohio, Sally Levy and Jennifer King, to come and share information about their program. I think it's almost around tax time.
We're just so excited to hear about taxes.
Yes, yes.
My name's Sally Levy, so I'm the program manager for Tax Time at United Way of Central Ohio. So first, just want to thank you on behalf of Tax Time, Councilmember Tyson and the rest of the City Council. I believe Councilmember Cinciano and Brown both made it to our Super Saturday kickoff event, which was really neat to have them there. So we continue to manage a coalition of partners providing free tax preparation services throughout Franklin County during the tax season. So we are well underway. The 3 programs being offered that are volunteer run are the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, the Ohio Benefit Bank, and the Tax Credit for the Elderly Program, which is facilitated by AARP. We also are still partnering with Hands On Central Ohio to provide a centralized scheduling system and information and referral services for folks to get them to the tax sites that are most appropriate for them and closest to them. We're also continuing to partner with Legal Aid Society of Columbus to provide any extra legal assistance that's needed, related to taxes. So we work with their low-income tax clinic to make sure when we get the complicated tax situations that we know we aren't capable of handling, that we can get them the services that they need. We are, this year, to date, our VITA program, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, is 5% higher in production and serving 5% more clients so far this season. So we're excited about that and continue to try to bolster our volunteer program and promote our online self-filing tool to make sure to reach more and more low and moderate income families and individuals in Central Ohio. We also this year have been excited to open 3 mobile sites to better serve the immigrant and refugee populations. We've been able to partner with 3 different organizations in the community, knowing that they know their populations best, and to work with them as a trusted provider to reach their populations and just continue to better serve non-English speaking and immigrant refugee populations here in Central Ohio. So I would say we've got a couple we've got an upcoming Super Saturday event in April, but if anybody needs their taxes done, they can always call Hands on Central Ohio at 211 to get scheduled or referred to a site. And then one of our challenges is always building our volunteer capacity so that we can serve more folks. There's always more need than we can provide for. So if anybody's ever interested in volunteering, they can go to our website at www.taxtimecentralohio.org. But yeah, I think that's all I've got.
Again, I was going to ask you, so thank you for sharing, so individuals can just dial hands-on to be able to get appointments between now and April 17th this year. All right. Thank you.
Preferably they call before that.
Yes, lots of wait. And so for that particular program, for tax time, that the funding is for $24,250. Correct? Correct. Yes, all right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Jennifer King. I was actually here a year ago. It was my first time. I was 9 months pregnant, and I honestly thought by being here I would go into labor. I did not, so.
I'm glad you did not tell us about your baby.
He will be a year in 2 weeks.
Oh,
so.
very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm proudly here on behalf of the United Way of Central Ohio and the Neighborhood Partnerships Grants Program. The Neighborhood Partnership Grant Program is designed to provide resources to neighborhood organizations and resident groups to create positive impact in low to moderate income areas of Franklin County. Funded projects are selected on a competitive basis and are designed to increase resident involvement and community volunteerism through the execution of neighborhood improvement projects. So some of these projects include cleanups, litter and graffiti abatement, neighborhood newsletters, community garden expansions, produce donations to those in need, gateway signage, community festivals, youth leadership and civic engagement programs, health, education, and awareness projects, and so much more. For the total, since NPG began and has allocated over $2.6 million since 2007, that has impacted over 500 neighborhood organizations. In 2017, there were 72 grants awarded for a total of $209,121, saying that we did receive 150 grant applications that totaled $984,859. So as you can see, the ask was way more than what we had to offer. So the grant is definitely a very competitive grant. So we thank the City of Columbus.
Thank you. I think this is a great program, and excited that we can provide some dollars to support the neighborhood partnership grants. And I think our amount is $19,400.
Yes.
But it does make a difference for those for communities. And as you mentioned, there's an opportunity, obviously, for more funding just based upon there is a significant need for additional dollars. If communities are interested in applying for a grant, can you share how they would be able to do that?
Absolutely. It is an annual program, and we will begin our next cycle beginning in the fall of this year, and they can contact me, Jennifer King, at the United Way. Jennifer.King@uwcentralohio.org. I am the person that manages the program and kind of sees it through the entire inception.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so I see that, and the challenge would absolutely be that there's a greater need for the work. And a challenge would be also getting more volunteers for your program for tax time. So thank you for the work that you do at the United Way, and thank you for coming down. And I think I shared the total amounts, the $19,400. So, okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, our next presenter is from Columbus Early Learning Center, Step Up Scholarships and Health and Wellness, and the Executive Director, Ms. Gina Ginn, is here. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you, everybody, for your time this afternoon. As Council Member Tyson said, my name is Dr. Gina Ginn, and I am the Executive Director for Columbus Early Learning Centers. For those of you that may not know who CELC is, we were founded here in Columbus in 1887 with the goal of providing the highest quality early learning and care to children and families. We have stayed true to that mission still today, and the Health and Human Services dollars that we receive really help us to fulfill our mission each and every day. For that, we are eternally grateful for the 2 grants that we receive and how it impacts our families. Specifically, CELC receives funding in support of our step-up scholarships at $28,582 and our health and wellness programs at a total of $29,100. CELC has extended significantly the stated goals for both of our programs since first receiving the grants. One, because we doubled in size, and so now we're serving over 300 children a year and have stretched those dollars to serve all of those kids, especially in our health and wellness program. Specifically, the health and wellness program gives us the ability to add developmentally appropriate programming that truly enriches the lives of the students that we serve. One of the biggest parts of that grant is to help us provide speech and hearing assessments and testing for all children, and that is done in partnership with Columbus Speech and Hearing. The additional programming allows CELC to add other programs such as nutrition, physical activity, and the development of fine and gross motor skills for all of our kids. These support the efforts of all of our teachers in providing a really wide range educational opportunity for some of the neediest children in Columbus. In addition, with our funding from 2016, as we kind of talked about a little bit more last year, these monies at least at our Champion location are also serving a senior population too, because the Champion Center is the Champion Intergenerational Center and serves both children and seniors. Our step-up scholarships aid specifically those families that for some reason don't qualify or no longer qualify for publicly funded child care subsidies. And in the first 2 quarters of this grant for this year, CELC has served more than the number of families expected. And if you count the dollars we were able to leverage with the Women's Fund, we're actually serving double the number of children that we had first anticipated. CELC continues to be able to use the step-up scholarships really to serve more families because we're trying to leverage those dollars during periods of transition. And additionally, as a component of the scholarship this year, we've implemented family enrichment programs, and a component of receiving the grant, families are expected to attend 80% of the planned programming.
Can you just share a little bit about the kind of the family enrichment component of the program?
So we do parent surveys every year as a part of our commitment to quality through Step Up to Quality. And so we were seeing a lot of the parents needing assistance kind of with how to read to their children at home or things about nutrition. And a lot of them also needed kind of some help with financial planning, things like that. So we were able to kind of leverage and bring in all of our community partners to do monthly family enrichment programming. And of course, it's open to all of our parents, but as part of receiving the scholarship, since we're giving really a lot extra to those families, they are required to attend those programs.
Thank you. The question I've asked everyone too is unless they've shared in their comments, what challenges are you seeing?
A lot. So I think poverty is really becoming a lot harder on families. So the stress and the instances of child abuse and domestic violence that we're seeing is increasing. Some of the other challenges that we specifically have kind of as an organization is we're out of space. We need additional physical space to serve the amount of children that we are that are coming to our programs for services. We also would like to see some kind of comprehensive citywide tracking for early childhood children who are participating in programs, specifically because I think this would allow us also to better report our outcomes to funders like the City of Columbus, and being able to not only track them kind of in the birth to 5 arena, but then also beyond, because we can't access any information about how our kids do on the kindergarten readiness assessment. And so us being able to more fully talk about what our impact is in the community, I think would help all early childhood centers in Columbus. And then finally, the one thing that is a bit political, because we support it, but at the same time we're seeing kind of what happens on the backside of that support is with this push for wage increases, it's actually hurting working line families, because specifically if a mom who is a single mom makes any more than $10.30 an hour, she does not qualify for publicly funded childcare subsidies. So if she gets a job making $15 an hour, she, one, cannot access any public assistance, and then two, that $15 an hour isn't giving her enough money to pay rent and childcare and all of those things to keep her employed. So something just to you know, that as we push for people to make more, we need to make sure that we understand kind of what the impact is on families, because it's making it more difficult for families to be able to access childcare. And then what they're doing is they're leaving children maybe in environments that aren't the best, because that's the only way they can have their child cared for and afford it.
Let me ask you a question in that regard. So if you are for an example, so if you have a job that is making, I'm just giving an example, like $10 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You said $10.31, I think.
Yep.
And so if you start out making less, but then you get an increase,
Mm-hmm.
does it still apply?
It does. So you have to qualify at less than 130% of the federal poverty level, which is less than $10.30 an hour. But then you can stay in the system. For a single mom and one child, it's up to like $15.54 an hour, about that, which is 300% of the federal poverty level. So if you can get raises and increases within the system once you've qualified, and what may happen is your copay incrementally increases, which is good, because that's helping the parents to do budgeting and different things like that. But at the initial onset of a job, for a mom to be able to access quality early learning programs, she needs to make less than that $10.30.
When I asked a question, I didn't ask it maybe in a way that
okay.
to get the answer, because that's what I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if you start out with a job that's less than the $10.30,
Yeah.
and then you get increases,
Mm-hmm.
you can still be receiving child care from an organization like yours that
Mm-hmm.
that you direct. But, and so you're not impacted in the same way if the job is less than the 10.30, correct?
Yeah,
That's what I was
it's
saying.
just getting qualified. So if a
Right.
mom starts at $15 an hour, she doesn't
Right.
qualify.
Right.
But if she starts out at a lower rate and then qualifies and then gets raises, that's ideal.
That's right, and that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So, and I know that's not ideal for everyone, but we've got to figure this out. And so thank you. I know that you're working on some initiatives that I'm excited, I've heard about, that I'm excited that would fit into the same kind of a category.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I appreciate your leadership, working with others to be able to help families receive all the child care services and other services they may need that may be under that amount, and then seeing them be successful at a higher amount. So thank you for your leadership.
Yeah, thank you.
In that regard. And I want to go to another thing, and then I know people, but this issue about additional space. Can you just talk to me about, I know the facility that you have on Champion. I get Champion, Ohio, Champion. And so, but you're saying that overall you are needing additional space for the number of kids that you're able to serve. Is that it, or just
For the amount of children that want to be served by us. So we have pretty significant waiting lists at all of our 4 locations.
So tell me about the waiting list numbers.
So especially in that birth to 3 years, there is significant need in the city that's not being met. We right now have, at any given time, anywhere between 28 and 40 families waiting for care for children that are 6 weeks to 3 years old. And then it is a little bit less in the preschool because you're able to serve more children when they're over the age of 3 in an individual classroom. But right now, we still have a waiting list in the Near East Side of about 24 kids. And so we actually need another building. So,
okay. So
if the city wants to, provide one, we'll gladly be the recipient of it.
Well, here, the reason this is why these hearings are important.
Right.
And I'm glad, and I know that Michael's in the room, and I talked about you earlier, Michael, about what is needed to get to. We have to get to a number of what the real needs are in our community, so that we can. And he's heard me say this, because I know there's other groupings that come together and have determined what is the number, what is needed for human services in our community. And so, and I'm glad I came back to these because I know you went through them, and I don't ask other questions. I'm hoping, and I know Kim's writing, I see Kim, when I'm asking, he's writing those challenges down, because to have another building is some sort of a capital campaign. And so it would be thinking about, what does that look like? Yep. And we have supported capital campaign. And as the Human Service Chair, I have definitely supported adding dollars to a capital campaign. And normally, when we think about capital dollars here, it's things that we own ourselves, but we have participated in capital campaigns. Like we participated in what Karla was just stating about at Stonewall. We've participated in Mary Haven to give more beds. We've participated with St. Vincent's, and there's some others. And so I think that we have to begin to, now that we've heard this, but start thinking about this with your board. What would a capital campaign look like?
We are already in the process of doing that. So
wonderful.
I will follow up with you.
That's good to know. I mean, we don't spend, we don't have millions of dollars, but we have participated in those. And I think that's important to see where or how we could help fit in, if that being the case, and to know that in advance, because right now, like we have we're looking at the capital budget for 2018, and I don't know if you're looking at capital for 18 or 19 or what it looks like, but you need to start having those conversations with us so that we know what we could ask for to be able to provide dollars to, because that actually becomes cash dollars as opposed to, because we can't, there's just things we can and cannot do. I'm going way into too much detail. But again, those are why I'm asking these questions, what is needed. So thank you for coming down and sharing, and let's talk about what that looks like. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
All right, our next speaker is from the YWCA Safe and Sound Program, Stephanie Reed. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Councilwoman Tyson and guests, thank you for allowing us to come this afternoon and speak about our program. Again, I am Stephanie Reed. I'm the Director of Children's Programs for the YWCA. I oversee the Safe and Sound program, which is a early childhood program, as well as an after-school program for children that are residing in the YWCA Family Shelter. I want to talk a little bit about our outcomes from this past year, and then I have also with me today Paula Neal, who is the Program Administrator over the Safe and Sound program. She'll talk more about the impact our program has had on the families that we've served. So our target this year was to serve about 180 children. We about accomplished that at serving 179. We also, a part of our outcome was that children would be enrolled in our program for at least 10 days to see an impact in their development, social, emotional, language acquisition, physical, and I can't remember the other one. We had 121 children that were, that increased their developmental level while they were staying at the family center. Those are the kids that were in the program for at least 10 days. The other outcome was that because of our program, 165 families would be able to find successful, will be able to have a successful housing outcome. So 72% of our families were able to find a successful housing outcome at 143 families. And then lastly, 100% of our child care staff received training and professional development of at least 10 hours or more. And so because of the funding that we received from the City of Columbus, we were able to accomplish these goals. So now I'll have Paula talk about the program itself.
The fun stuff. Good afternoon, Council Member Priscilla Tyson. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here. I'm going to try my best not to get so overly ecstatic about my program, but I love it. So some of the basics is ever since 2005 of October, we provide up to at one time 76 spaces for children 6 weeks to 13 years of age. They receive 2 snacks, a lunch. We have a Head Start partnership. We have excellent staff. We do a lot of screenings. We take them a lot of different kinds of field trips to get them different kinds of exposures. But the most important, I was trying to calm down, but the biggest thing that happened since we were here last year, because I promised you guys this was going to happen, we received our 5-star Step Up to Quality rating in July of last year. So I wanted to get past all the basic stuff to the most important stuff. But what that means is that to be 5 stars, you have to have administrators' credentials, have good staff as far as not just degrees, because anyone can come in with a nice degree, but it's also about the interaction that our staff have with our children and our families. It's also about the curriculum, the screenings that we do to ensure that even our children who are homeless are where they are. And if they're not, we have partnership with Columbus City Schools that comes in and do our pre-screenings. We have CDC Head Start come in and provide the Head Start services, like the educational component and the mental health components to help make sure our kids get everything they need. But also, I have this attitude when it comes to serving children and family in general. One of my best experiences at the YWCA is that, yes, we serve people that are homeless, but we are very clear that our children and our family are not homeless. And that's one of the things I love about the YWCA mission. We all know it's to eliminate racism, it's to empower women, promote social justice, freedom, justice. But dignity is what we leave our families and kids every day. On July of 2017, we proved through our practice by getting that 5-star that even though our kids are with us for 23 days to 90 days, so what? Our most vulnerable kids are entitled to the highest quality and care. So I'm just overjoyed to be here to share our update. But I also want to thank you guys for always being an advocate for us and being one of our biggest supporters, even before the 5 stars. You believed in us, and I thank you for continuing to believe in us. And thank you once again for having me here. And I'm going to be quiet if I get too overexcited again.
Well, first of all, Paula, I appreciate your passion.
Thank you.
That's important. And certainly you're working with some of the most vulnerable residents in our community, and your passion for helping them to be able to receive the skills, the children to receive the skills that they need is evident. And absolutely, you are definitely the type of individual that we really do want working with our kids and families to be able to make sure that those kids are, first of all, the families are transitioning to housing, but again, those kids who are enrolled show an increase in their learning while they're with you with such a temporary amount of time. And that is really impressive, because other children may stay in programs for longer periods of time that don't necessarily have the same challenges that the kids that are coming to the YWA Safe and Sound program. And so I thank you, for your service. As I've asked everyone that's been here today, do you have any challenges that we need to know about?
Definitely. One of our biggest challenges is staffing. My core team that I have today are excellent, and we're trying to find the right people to come in and mesh with that team, but most importantly, they mesh with the kind of families that we serve, because you have to have the right attitude. If you come in belittling our families and our kids, you're not going to fit there, because it's obvious that we don't work with homeless people. You know, we work with their situations, but they are just like you and I at the end of the day. And so with that being said, being 5 stars has now put an even higher pressure on us to maintain what we got, but that's okay, because statistics shows that the higher the degrees, the better your staff, the better the degree they are, you know, the better the quality of the kids. So we're not debating that. But we do need staff. We also need specialized staff, because our children are traumatized. If you are someone that working in a traditional child care center and you're struggling with social emotional in that environment, and you come to a non-traditional center like ours, where it's trauma, it's social emotional all day, you will struggle. And one of the things we found out that we need more specialized staff that can work with provide behavior intervention.
I was going to say also, one of the things that I know the city is working on in Action for Children is helping to develop more specialized staff, providing the free CDA classes. And so that, you know, doing more of that will help not only our center, but other child care centers to move up in that step up to quality star rating system. So because of that star rating system, we have to have specialized staff, or staff that either from a CDA all the way up to a 4-year degree. So having those free CDA classes have definitely been beneficial. When we had one of our staff move from, you know, just a high school diploma to a CDA, and she's now the lead teacher in one of our classrooms. So she went through the free program with Action for Children. So it's definitely been beneficial, and hopefully the city will continue to fund that program.
And now she wants her bachelor's. She wants to go to school with her bachelor's.
But hope that we are going to continue, because we understand the importance of the CDA training. I went to a CDA graduation, and I tell you, I was so impressed with the program, and it was through, so we fund 2 different ones. One's through, I think, Columbus State, and then the other one was with Action for Children, I think. And so I probably went through the one that was Columbus State, I guess, and it was at the graduation was at Linda McKinley High School, where it wasn't called that Linda McKinley High School anymore, but my age, you know how that's Linda McKinley High School. And so anyway, it is, I don't know the new name of it, I'm sorry, but I was just so impressed with the individuals who were, one, caring for our children in the most critical years of their lives, and that they were, you know, willing to get this additional training to be able to provide the best education for our children. And so I would suspect that we will continue to fund those types of programs, because we want to be able to make sure that our kids have the best start at life in terms of their educational start. And so I would think that we would. And so I'm glad that you're taking advantage of it. Yes, ma'am.
The trainings are excellent that Action for Children and other provide, but one of the things we did last year, we formed a partnership with Nationwide Children's Hospital, and they came on site on 2 different occasions for 6 hours and did trauma-informed training. What we need is more comprehensive trainings that like Nationwide provides, but it's not just for the Safe and Sound Child Care Center, because when our kids leave our facility, they go back to the traditional centers. And the staff doesn't know their story as much as we do and what we've worked with before they enter their traditional centers. So what we're seeing is that what needs to happen is more Ohio-approved trainings geared towards trauma is needed, period, regardless of the centers. And if they can do that, that would help a lot of staff as far as retention in some centers that are struggling as well, just like ours. That helps as well, because if you continue to put children in the classroom where the staff is only taught basic things, about early childhood, it just continues that cycle, So it's really needed.
Paula, I would, say absolutely that we need individuals at the preschool, and the preschools that have people who understand trauma-informed individuals working with our children, because and we really, it's important to start it there, because if we don't do it there, then the kids go to school and we don't have people who really understand trauma. And let me just say this, poverty is trauma. And poverty is trauma, homelessness, and if you're homeless, it is, poverty plays a role in the homelessness part of that, but there's so many other, as you heard, it could be domestic violence, physical violence, there's so much. And when you have individuals in households with those kinds of things going on, then could be medical, it's all sorts of things that deal with, if you don't deal with the trauma, you begin to have individuals, people are acting out in ways that they wouldn't be acting out if they've got the trauma-informed care at an early age. So I commend you for partnering with Nationwide Children's Hospital. I'm so excited they're going to be having a new behavioral health center that will help, that whole new Big Lots facility, Big Not Lots support of the new building on Main Street is all about behavioral health for our children. And I'm excited about that, because until we really deal with people's trauma, we are not going to be able to have healthy adults. So I commend you for bringing Nationwide in, and I know Michael's writing these things down, and I know he is too, because that is so key for individuals having their best life.
Yes.
People don't just wake up and just be mad. It's stuff that happens in your life that creates that behavior. And until we deal with that behavior, we're going to continue to have the situation that we're having now. So I am all in. I thank you, for being sensitive to that issue in their preschool or early school environment. So. Thank you. This has been great, and let me see. And for all that great work that you're doing, you're getting, what, $73,760 to do it, and to have a great staff like Paula there. So I thank you so much for coming and sharing. Thank you for your passion. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so let me see, from Buckeye Region Anti-Violence, Bravo Safety Outreach Program. Come on up, Mr. Aaron Eckert, who is the, I think it's the Interim Executive Director. Is that your title right now? Yes. All right.
Well, first of all, thank you, Councilmember Tyson. It's been a pleasure to be here and hear about all the great things that are happening in human services throughout the city. It really helps us do our job when we know all the great work that's going on and building our partnerships. I'm really excited to talk about our street safety and youth safety outreach initiatives and programs. I want to focus on some, not necessarily the results, but some successes. One of the successes is partially a result, but we were able to have over 3,500 contacts around street safety and communication with folks at different festivals, at different street events, and then we launched our street safety campaign initiative first weekend in March, in which we actually went out onto the sidewalks around throughout the short north and then also the south side of Columbus, and LGBT businesses and in some of the bars as well, talking about street safety, passing out street safety information, engaging with people on the street in the moment. And some of that work has really led to some incredible success around not only folks contacting us and saying, hey, wait, maybe I do need your services, as Bravo provides services, direct advocacy and case management services to survivors of violence within and on behalf of the LGBTQI communities. And so, but also we've received feedback from a few folks that they use some of the safety tips and they potentially prevented a violent situation from happening in the first place. And that's, after all, that's part of our mission, is to prevent violence. And so it's nice to see these initiatives working in real time. Also, as a part of this, our Youth Safety Summit and then also some of our street safety outreach, we have been made aware, or it's reinstilled an idea in Bravo. We haven't actually done a support group series in a while, but we're hearing people ask for it. And so one of the handouts I provided is a brand new LGBTQI survivors of violence support group, because I think one of the things that we need to think about, I love the trauma-informed care. My background is social work. Like this is my heart work, right? But also thinking about the culturally trauma-informed care, right? That there's just a general cultural trauma when you're a part of an underserved community. And every day we wake up and breathe air into our lungs, and that's a weight, right? It's a weight, there's a weightiness to it that can lead to stress-induced trauma over time. And then also an expectation of discrimination, right? Because if you're constantly seeing it, you might start expecting to be discriminated against, and then it's harder to engage sometimes. And so we try to overcome those things. So violence support groups, hopefully more culturally specific support groups within the concept of surviving violence. Couple of just one thing that kind of supports what I was just talking about. There is a new Pew study report out that says for the first time in about 4 years in the United States of America, over 50% of the population is now uncomfortable with LGBTQ people again. It was over 50%, but now, it was under 50%, but now it's back over 50% of the United States adult population is now uncomfortable yet again with LGBT people. And, I know it was said earlier today, but some of that has to do, I think, with the messages coming from the top of our government and the federal government, and making certain comments okay again, which is not acceptable to Bravo or to myself. So a couple other, I think, gaps, since that was a request. I wanted to note something else that I heard today, too, which we see very much, this concept of aging out of care in 18 to 24-year-old care. We also see that big drop-off. And then the lack of culturally competent or culturally humble foster care services. I know we have seen youth sit in offices, sit in like a social work office for hours trying to find a foster care, only to be placed in residential when that's too high a level of care because we can't find a foster care family that will take an LGBT youth. Bravo doesn't directly provide foster care services, but we do work with folks that have experienced violence, and I think that that's an example of systemic violence. And so we are concerned about that as well. Another gap would be really, and we're addressing this gap with a new program we're launching. We're adding to our advocacy services and providing, we're going to be rolling out over the next couple months, hopefully. Keep your eyes open for this. Comprehensive case management services. So understanding that violence and cultural violence don't result in someone having an incident. like that is connected to their income, connected to whether or not they may be hungry, connected to whether or not they may need clothing, they may need a new job, they may need to relocate. And so really kind of building those systems in place so Bravo becomes a little bit of a conduit of care and a central point to manage those services for folks. And so we're really kind of stepping into that role as well, or hopefully.
Well, first of all, it's been interesting watching you from this position, watching you nod your head and really listening to everyone's comments today, and certainly recognizing when you just, and as you just spoke, you shared some of the comment that you heard. I was watching what everybody's doing out there, but watching you when you were sharing, just being in agreement with a lot of the comments that were made. And so for the programs that you are working on, especially to educate and empower Columbus regarding making sure everyone safety and being aware of the issues of safety and safety in our community, I thank you for that. And also fostering leadership skills in the LGBTQ youth in Columbus and surrounding neighborhoods. And so your grant dollars are $29,100. And so again, appreciate your work. And also you just, again, as you mentioned, you're survivors of violence and LGBTQ peer support group, and the first meeting is going to be April the 16th from 7 to 8 p.m. And if they're interested, they should email support groups at bravo-ohio.org.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Great. Yep.
And hopefully that individuals the listening and viewing community will come to the very first program and share their issues and concerns that are going on in the city of Columbus.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And thank you for your leadership.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You too.
And our next presenter, our final presenter for this evening, except we have, I think we have one speaker we have a speaker slip, is going to be NetCare Access Corporation, the Community Crisis Response Expansion. Carrie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Tyson. I'm Carrie Wyrick of NetCare's Community Crisis Response Expansion. Thank you for your support. To illustrate what Community Crisis Response, CCR, did in 2017, I would like you to imagine that you're in each of these three devastating situations. Imagine that you're the director of the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. You've just gotten a call from the governor. He tells you about an accident at the state fair. A ride is broken, throwing riders off, seriously injuring them. You contact the Franklin County ADAM Board, who contacts NetCare. The ADAM Board tells you that NetCare's Community Crisis Response Team is already waiting to be deployed by officers on the scene. Through a chain of phone calls, you get word that the Columbus Police and the Ohio State Highway Patrol are working together with NetCare's CCR to get help to those affected. You're relieved to find the Community Crisis Response Team is there. Next, imagine that you're a different person. You're enjoying a warm evening in July. It's late and you're thinking about getting ready for bed. While watching television, you hear that there's been an accident at the state fair. You hear a knock at the door. You see police officers. While standing on your front porch, they introduce you to a third person, a NetCare Community Crisis Response clinician. Together, gently, they inform you that your son was killed on the ride. You're overwhelmed with emotion. The CCR counselor stays with you and your family, helping you grasp what has happened and helping you determine next steps, waiting to leave until you're ready to let him go. He is the calm one, the CCR clinician. He's able to think clearly to help you navigate the emotions ahead. Now, imagine that you're a state fair worker. You hear about the accident and you rush to the scene, but there's nothing for you to do. You meet with the clinicians from NetCare's Community Crisis Response. You see another employee there with his son, an elementary-aged child. You grieve with them. The counselors from NetCare's CCR let you talk as much as you need to share. You feel comforted by them. They give you some handouts to take home with you. You share these with your friends at work, and in the big scheme of things, you have helped to make it a little better. This is just a small sample of the work of NetCare's Community Crisis Response Team, ready and able to respond on a moment's notice 24/7, 365. CCR team has a dedicated licensed staff who respond when called by police and fire to any traumatic event. We get called out to scenes of deaths by suicide, homicide, accident, fire, child death, opiate overdose, and other traumatic events. We provide psychological first aid, mental health expertise, and resources to individuals immediately affected by the trauma. By doing so, this frees up first responders to focus on their work. Since the start of the city grant, we have helped 2,536 people and have attended 407 incidents. In the 2017 calendar year, we averaged 16.3 incidents per month, exceeding our goal of 15 per month. Some critical needs. I would recommend increasing resources and services available to family member survivors who have lost someone to a traumatic incident or an opiate overdose. Some kind of grant to fund free grief and trauma counseling on an ongoing basis. We routinely refer individuals to grief and trauma treatment programs, but the wait list is 6 weeks long. As CCR is an immediate responder to the traumatic situation, we have to improvise with each referral. Increasing services available to family member survivors would help the community recover from these traumatic events. So thank you again for the support of the City of Columbus and investment in NetCare's Community Crisis Response.
Carrie, I don't know what our community would do without having the NetCare services. This response team, I mean, just this one example of one incident and the number of people that were affected by that incident. And your professional team was there to be able to support it. And as you just mentioned, there are at least 16.3 incidences per month that occur in our community that require a response by your organization to be able to help those individuals, those family members, community members that are involved in some sort of trauma. And that's why we're just saying that how important it is to have that trauma-informed care at all levels, because that clearly is the reason certain things happen, I mean, in our community. And we have to make sure we're looking out for everyone. You just mentioned some of the gaps that we have, and the gap that you shared was that there isn't enough just grief and trauma counseling for our community.
Right.
And because you said it's 6 weeks long, and it's just like anything else. When a person has an addiction and they're ready to say, I don't want to do this anymore, they need to get services immediately.
Right.
And 6 weeks is a long time
Right.
to reach those services.
What we would actually like to have happen would be to have a kind of a warm linkage, a warm handoff with an agency like Mount Carmel Crime and Trauma, so that we could, we are on a scene for maybe 6 hours with a family member who's just lost someone in a traumatic event. And if we can get that person an appointment, a warm linkage, then we're connecting those dots and providing more seamless trauma care for the individual. So something like that would be really good. We're also looking into seeing what we can do to encourage family member survivors who've lost someone to an opiate overdose to form a self-help group. There's one called GRASP, which is, if I can remember it correctly, it's grief, recovery for addiction, something like that. Grief, recovery for addiction. I forgot the name of it, but the whole, it's a self-help group for family members who have lost someone to an opiate overdose, because that's a specific population that's different from family members who's lost someone to a suicide. So we're trying to work on that, but improvising follow-up services for these individuals who've recovered from trauma is very challenging for us.
So the 6 weeks long wait is a way to get into a program like Mount Carmel's?
Like Mount Carmel.
That's
yeah.
what the wait is. So,
Yeah.
Okay. And that's predominantly the program that you would like to link to?
Yeah.
That's the only
because of the trauma focus on with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we need to have some more discussions just around what that, we need to have an understanding what that program is at Mount Carmel. And but I really do just thank you.
Well, thank you, and thanks to the city for the support.
Thank you. And right now, the city supports the work with for $138,300. And so, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right. And at this time, I want to entertain testimony from members of the public, and speaker slips are taken in order. And we have one speaker slip tonight, and the speaker who wants to share some comments is Michael Corey. Michael, please come to the podium. I think you've had a busy day today, haven't you? Yes. Yes. How was earlier today?
It was probably the most moving thing I've ever seen. I had the great opportunity to speak and offering words of welcome at a naturalization ceremony for 124 brand new Americans, and it was quite an honor. So I appreciate your willingness to let me arrive here tardily so that I could participate in that extraordinary event. I'll happily share stories and photos and video with you if you'd like to review them. It was a truly wonderful event. So thank you again for letting me arrive late.
No, and thank you. And I follow you on all sorts of social media, and I knew that's what you were doing today. And just appreciate that you had that opportunity to do that. And again, believe me, I've said your name enough today on ideas. Now that as you're hearing and listening to the challenges, the gaps, that certainly will give you food for thought, as well as the city. And Kim's been jotting down notes as we think about the funding moving forward.
Yes.
But again, we know that that's not going to be enough funding to meet all the needs that we have in the community.
Yes.
And with your leadership, we will begin to work with organizations to try to come up with some numbers that are important for this community.
Absolutely.
All right, but the floor is yours. You have your time to testify.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. I am very honored to be addressing you this afternoon with the chance to again offer my gratitude for your continued leadership and support of human services in the city of Columbus and in Franklin County. I know that over the course of this afternoon and tomorrow morning as well, you have heard and will have heard from a number of leaders and organizations doing important work across so many important areas within and alongside so many of our neighborhoods and the people that make the tapestry of our city so unique. I will do my best to be worthy of the example they all set every day. My name is Michael Corey, and for the past 10 months, I've had the privilege of serving as Executive Director of the Human Service Chamber of Franklin County. We are an alliance of nonprofits serving our community's vulnerable populations. Since the Chamber and our members welcomed me into this role, our membership has grown from 49 agencies to over 60, each of which is providing critical services in this critical time. Our job at the Human Service Chamber is to be their champion, to pursue the resources they need, and to bring them together with partners in government, in business, and in philanthropy, all in building upon the great city Columbus is, and toward the community we all want Columbus to become. Our membership is diverse in every sense of the word, in size and scope, in people and neighborhoods served, and in challenges faced. Our member leaders, CEOs, and executive directors of considerable talent and experience are similarly diverse. Their range of backgrounds and experiences and perspectives truly reflects the people of Columbus, a fact of which I am particularly proud. I am frequently asked what our priorities are. We have many. They include housing, healthcare, behavioral health, refugee and immigration services, childcare, education, workforce development, reentry services, food insecurity, care for seniors, and many others. I'm then asked how we can have so many priorities. The answer is that they are all urgent to members of our community and to our member agencies. That is what our members all have in common, diverse as they are. There is urgency to their work. At a time when needs are escalating, and at a time when certain folks in Washington are worsening them, human service organizations are as important as ever, as is our city's leadership in addressing the challenges before us all. While the needs persist, so will we. Columbus City Council's financial support to human service agencies is of course paramount to our efforts. Of the dozens of recipients of your generosity, the vast majority are Human Service Chamber members. Members or not, our goal is to serve this entire city. On behalf of all human service agencies, thank you for your commitment and for your support. I know that many members of City Council are personally acquainted with the impact of the work our agencies are doing and how this is not just a safety net. Accessibility to housing that is affordable, accessibility to nutritious food, accessibility to medical care, accessibility to jobs, to transportation, to mentorship. This is the fundamental and elemental infrastructure upon which our city stands, as critical as streets and sewers, streetlights and sidewalks. Though there is still much work to do, our organizations are achieving gains and instilling hope, even as they draw hope and inspiration from the people they serve. Columbus City Council's leadership is critical to the gains achieved and the hope instilled. At the Human Service Chamber, we continue focusing on relationship building and community building, on convening and collaborating, on problem solving, on communicating, and on pursuing that which our city can be as we work in concert to get us there. We have an active board of directors, a growing membership, growing partnerships, and the leadership of our member agencies to get us there. Our agencies help our struggling neighbors land softly in difficult times, help people rise to their feet, and help them move forward once again. It is work our agencies are honored to do, and we at the Human Service Chamber are of course honored to serve them and honored for your support. As we all know, these are critical times for our country, and local leaders and local agencies are stepping up to help us navigate through these times. Accordingly, I want to close with words from one of our nation's great poets, Langston Hughes, whose words have a different but still relevant meaning for us all today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet, and yet must be, the land where every man and woman is free. The people who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for coming and sharing, and I certainly do appreciate the words of Langston Hughes. I thank you for the leadership of the Human Service Chamber. I do believe that, as I've said to you, many times, that you are the leader that I truly believe will help us to help provide the additional funding that is clearly necessary for everyone to be able to live their best quality of life. And so before I adjourn, I want to again thank you for being here and your leadership, but the leadership staff and all the volunteers of the organization who joined us today, but also all the human service leaders in this community, because we don't fund all of them, but they're all doing really great work. I want to never forget that you are doing some of the most noble work that people can do, and that is being in service to others. Service to others. I'm deeply grateful for your service. I admire each and every one of you for your passion, your compassion, your tenacity, and ultimately making our community a better place to live. As stated earlier, our next hearing for the organizations that did not present this afternoon will begin tomorrow, March 23rd at 10:30 a.m. We plan to put the social service funding legislation on Council's agenda for passage this coming Monday, March the 26th. As we conclude, I'd like to thank the following people for their work: Hannah Reed, Hannah Jones, Kim Stans from the Department of Development, the professionals at CTV who work so hard to prepare for and broadcast these hearings, my team, Nicole Harper and Carl Williams, my fellow council members and their staff who work hard every day for the residents of Columbus. But most of all, I'd like to thank the residents of Columbus who make this city the best place to live, work, and to raise a family. And so this concludes tonight's hearing. And again, I'll see everyone tomorrow morning at 10:30. Thank you so much.